Welcome to tutorial 16. This week we're going to be looking at some of the requests from previous videos, and one of those sounds requested was the Vox Humana sound, which Gary Numan played on the end of Cars. Okay, so I'm going to use an initial setting, and we get a pulse wave on oscillator 1. We need that to be sawtooth, and oscillator 2 sawtooth, oscillator 3 sawtooth. The sound relies heavily on two different LFO settings. So we're going to use LFO 1 on oscillator 1, and we're going to use a speed of 44. There we are. And a depth, you'll now be able to hear the depth when I bring that in, of 16. There we are, there's a wobble on that. We also need LFO 2 to affect oscillators 2 and 3. So let's put oscillators 2 and 3 in, all at 8-foot pitch, all at sawtooth waveform. LFO 2, we need speed to be 40 and depth to be 14. So now we've got a kind of an eerie, weird sort of wobbly sound going on there. We're going to go and adjust the detune on oscillators 2 and 3, so we get a richer sound. So oscillator 2 detune -3. There we are, and oscillator 3 detune +10. Okay, now we'll move over to the filter section. And the cutoff on the filter is 102. There we are. Key track 86. Good. Now the ADSR for the filter is set up so that the decay is at 50. But what we're going to do on here is, instead of using a positive amount to produce a clicky kind of sound, we're going to use a negative amount, which is going to provide a much subtler effect. So that's -16. We're also going to adjust the amplitude envelope. So we need the attack time to be 42. So it gives a bit of a fade into the sound. There we are. And the release to be 83. Quite a long release on this. And because of the long release, we don't even need any reverb or anything like that. So here's the Vox Humana sound. The next request was for a Prince style synth stab, and we can actually use the sawtooth setting from the Vox Humana sound and twiddle about with that to get the stab sound. So we need to undo the LFO settings. So just by putting the depth to 0 on LFO 1, the depth to 0 on LFO 2, we should have got rid of the wobble. Okay, that's good. And the detune wants to be adjusted slightly, so -8 on there, and +8 on here. At the moment the sound is quite brassy, but once we've adjusted a few other things over on this side, it should be much stabbier sort of sound. Okay, the filter will be fully open, and the amount of filter envelope would be 0, so we're not actually using the filter envelope at all. We're not actually even using the amplifier envelope, so put those to a regular kind of setting like that, an on-off setting. On this one we're going to use a bit of drive to not for any distortion, but to increase the upper harmonics, so it gives a brighter kind of sound. Subtle amount of 16. So down to 16, there we are. And that's kind of it, really. What we need in here is an effect of a short delay. So we'll put the delay time in there. The time is 29. There we are, and the level will be 43. There we are, and now that's the kind of Prince style synth stab. Okay, the third request was for the Jon and Vangelis tune Find My Way Home, and for that I'm going to use an initial setting over here, 400, there we are, initial. And I'm going to start with the right hand section and we'll work my way back to the oscillators, because it's the oscillators that eventually give the defining kind of sound. So we're going to start with some filter drive. 19, that's just add a little bit of brightness to the sound. Key track 85. There we are. Resonance 56. And cutoff frequency 77. So I'm going to close the filter down, and you can hear that closing down there. And final resting place 77 there. I'm not going to need the filter envelope for this, but I will need the amplifier envelope. Attack time 62, bit of a fade into the sound. 62, there we are, and release 54. Now at the moment what you're hearing is a plain old pulse wave on a 50% pulse wave to provide a square wave sound, but in actual fact we're going to have a twiddle with those in a second after I've put some reverb on. So reverb time 84, there we are, and level 65, so there we are. So now back to the oscillator section. So oscillator 1, 32 foot, which is quite low down. Let's put the other, pulse width of that is going to be, so listen there, 93. That's a 93% pulse wave, so it produces quite a nasal sound. Oscillator 2 is going to be at volume 86. And this time we're going to use a sine wave. Okay, we want the sine wave to be on 8 foot, and we're going to use a frequency amount by oscillator 1. And you can hear the sound changing there. At value 52. There we are. We also need oscillator 3 at 16 foot, pulse width 85, that's 85%. So now we've kind of got the composite sound and balance those up. Oscillator 3 full volume, oscillator 2 86. And it's starting to sound a little bit like the sound we want, but the crucial effect really is to put a wobble on that sound. And we need LFO 1. LFO 1 is going to modulate all three oscillators, and we want a speed of 42. And you won't hear that until I put the depth in of 12. And that's the composite sound. So I'll just play a bit of that.